Hello, welcome back to the channel. I've been busy with Epic Battles Waterloo planning, as you've hopefully seen in some of my other videos, and I've started painting the heavy cavalry. Hopefully you've seen the painting videos I've done for that. So I thought I'd also share some videos looking at the points and what you can do with the £90 starter box set. So in my opinion, there's three ways you can play wargaming. There's first and basic is slam what you've got on the table, roll some dice and just get on with it. Second one is kind of crafting and creating scenarios, maybe it's based around historical battles. I know that's my preferred way to play. At the moment I'm getting ready to do an Antietam refight for Epic Battles American Civil War. The third way is points values. And points values means if you take 1,000 points, I take 1,000 points as an example. Theoretically, whoever wins, the best general wins, as both sides are roughly equal. A bit like a game of chess. It has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. If we know 1,000 points is going to take 3 hours to play, and we've got 3.5 hours on a games night, we might, like maybe it's a club night for example, we might go for that. Or if I don't have time to create a scenario, go for that. Or if I'm playing a stranger, again, it's a nice easy guide to get stuff down. Where match points and match play gets a bad rep is people play games for different reasons. I do historical wargaming because I've got a big love of history and I can recreate that military history on the tabletop. For other people, the gaming is a key part of it, and I am going to be doing a video on this. It's something I've been mulling over quite a bit this last month. And for them, they might use the points values to kind of min-max Uber lists. Certainly, if something's more effective points than another one, why would they take the less effective one if their motivation is to play and win war games on the tabletop? So with that in mind, what I've done is I've pointed up the points that you get in the starter boxes out of Albion Triumphant using their points values. And I also thought I'd have a quick jump in Albion Triumphant and show you why I think it's a really good purchase for you if you're planning about doing the 100-day campaign. Now, Warlord is putting a rule book in their boxes, and they've said it will be bespoke for the Napoleonic Epic Battles system. Exactly how much of this content in Albion Triumphant goes into there, I don't know, but I'm going to jump in and show you Albion Triumphant, how I use it, and then I'll show you the points for the games. If that's cool, let's crack on. Straight away, as you can see, mine's quite a well-used copy. You will notice there are 3 different covers for Albion Triumphant 2. As far as I know, all the content inside is the same. So it's a potted history of the 100 Days campaign. It's also a guide to your armies. So Great Britain, how the army was, special rules for the army, and it goes through the units, giving you the stats, giving you the special rules for them. Really simple. And it does the same for the Allies as well, and the Prussians and the French. Next up, it also has some scenarios. It doesn't quite have as many scenarios as I'd like in it, but the scenarios it does have in look like pretty solid scenarios. So Catabra, and as you can see with the table layout, it's 6 foot by 4 foot. And looking at the contents, the French, for example, have 5, 10, 14, 20 line battalions there, and that's doable. My plan, I think, is I'm going to end up with about 24 French battalions, and a similar sort of size for the British. And it says if you're using non-historical forces, 1,200 points for the French, 1,000 points for the British. As you're going to see, the starter boxes actually will be able to cover those. Certainly with points, not in terms of the units as laid down historically. The next scenario is Hougoumont, the attack on Hougoumont. Now, looking at the kit that Warlord is bringing out, the MDF Hougoumont, it looks superb, but it looks a bit big for the battlefield of Waterloo that I want to recreate. I've got the cigar box battle mat for Waterloo, and it's a little over 6 by 4, and Hougoumont looks massive. But as we can see with this scenario in front of us, I think if you plonk that down in the middle of the battlefield and make that the focus of the battlefield, that will be great. So because of this scenario and wanting to refight some battles for Hougoumont, I certainly will be getting the Warlord MDF kit. Well, Sarissa Warlord Sarissa kit. And the third scenario is the Prussians. Prussians fighting the French and the French Young Guard at Place Noire, which again is a pretty exciting scenario as well. It's in historical non-historical forces, 1750 points of Prussians versus 1500 points of French. Now the next bit it has is simple profiles, all on one page. These are really useful. Get these photocopies for playing the games, and it's everything you need to remember. And it's also got points values. Some of the Black Powder supplements don't have points values. For example, the American War of Independence doesn't. I like points values as a wee guide. I'm not a slave to them, and I'm not a slave to any army list organizations. But I believe it's nice to have. And finally, it has sort of structure for how to put your brigades, battalions together in brigades, and how they would fit into our division, as well as kind of options and stuff as well. So if you are new to Napoleonics and you wanted a fast and quick and easy way to understand how battalions went to brigades, brigades went to divisions, this will help you as well. And I've used this as a guide to what's in the starter boxes. So I've talked enough about the book. Let's look at the lists. So let's start off with the French. I'll just zoom in. So the French. So a couple of things I'm wanting to do is be able to see what each unit is quite readily looking at from the tabletop. So with that in mind, to differentiate between heavy and light cavalry, I'm going to do 5 miniatures for a base of heavy and 4 for a light. When I start painting them up and seeing how they look, I might change that. I might end up with 5 light cavalry as well. But at the moment, that's what I'm planning around. Infantry units, I'm going to use 4 bases for standard size, 6 for large, 2 for small, 1 for tiny. For the French, I'll put some veterans battalions here, and I'm going to use an extra base for them because you'll see I've got some spare bases because of the light infantry, where they're going to be 3 bases of regular and a base of skirmishers. And again, so I can see light infantry quite readily from regular infantry. Cavalry, 3 for standard, 4 for large, 2 for small, 1 for tiny. And artillery, 2 bases for a battery, 1 for a small battery. The other thing the French have is some of the commanders, you could actually buy command level 9 commanders. So I've done that a couple of times. Spoilers, the French are underpointed compared to the British. So I've thrown a few things in, like the veterans, like the Leadership 9 commanders, to bring the points up a bit. So I'm going to do 1st Brigade, Command 9, 4 line battalions, 1 foot artillery battery, and 2 veteran battalions, that should be not brigades. And I've noted how many bases there. I've checked the maths, and it does add up to 40 infantry bases. The 2nd Brigade, again, same as the 1st, but 3 line battalions and a veteran. The 3rd Brigade, it says 3 light brigades, 3 light battalions there. And now with the skirmishers, I've only used 3 skirmishers in the list. Most of the units in the Napoleonic period have a mixed order where they can throw out skirmishers. I would use the rest of the skirmishers so that you can represent that on the tabletop. And when we come to the British, in the games of Black Powder I've played so far, I've never felt like I've needed British skirmishers out. But I have felt like I've needed French skirmishers in front of my attack columns. Attack columns, their firepower dice goes down to 1. The skirmishing, if you've got skirmishers out, your firepower dice goes down to 1. So you're not losing anything from firepower, but what it does is it screens your troops and makes it harder to hit when you're going in as well. So I've always found just having those bases handy for the French attack columns worthwhile. Now we come to the throwing in some tough fighters there for the light brigades as well. And that's just a unit upgrade. So what I've done with the light cavalry brigade is there's actually going to be 3 light cavalry brigades. One which is going to be 2 units of small lancers, one which is 2 units of small chasseurs, and one which is going to be mixed hussars and dragoons. Technically, via the rules as written, that's not allowed, but I don't think it's the end of the world. and each brigade is going to have some horse artillery. And finally, we'll have a heavy cavalry brigade, and that's going to be Command 9, some cuirassiers, some small cuirassiers, and some carbineers. And there's a couple of artillery bases left over from the infantry brigades, so we'll have some core artillery. So it comes to 1253 points, which I think is pretty good. So far, in 28mm, I mean, we haven't used as much cavalry as what's in these lists. Certainly the infantry brigades, we tend to use 3 infantry brigades. We generally go for 750 to 1,000 points. So this gives you 1250 points out the box, and you will have some spare cavalry left over. What I'm planning to do for my brigade commanders is I will have a commander, I'll have some of the spare cavalry with them. So I have 2 miniatures on a base, and I'm going round bases for my brigade commanders, divisional corps commanders, army commanders. I have 3 models. I also plan to have some loose individual models because I plan to play around with how the army commander works and dispatches rerolls, but more of that on another video. So that's the French. This is a British. So again, planning around the same methodology for the British. Now, the British have rifles, so you can have tiny, small, or regular units of rifles. So rifle companies are small units of rifles, and battalions are regular units. So there you go. So British Brigade, all the British are Command 8. So British Brigade, 2nd British Brigade, a Guard Brigade, Hanover Brigade. It actually is Hanover Brigade is a mandatory pick in a British division, but it also means I can do something interesting with the spare rifle bases to make some Hanoverian Jaegers. I like Cavalry Brigade. The Light Dragoons Hussars, pretty much the same stat lines, but I'm going to make one of them large and one of them a KGL unit, more horse artillery. Now, Heavy Cavalry Brigade, I was going to opt for 2 of these. So one will be based on the household, and it will have 1 household cavalry and 1 unit of Dragoon Guards. And the second one will represent the Union Brigade, and it will have 1 unit of Scots Greys and 1 unit of Heavy Cavalry, Heavy Dragoons. So as you can see there, it comes to 1361 points for the British. So the British have about 100 points in advance. Now you could make up the French points by turning everything to Command 9, but I think having a bit of Command 9 and most of it Command 8 feels better. So if I was wanting a fair points value, I think by the time you drop maybe one of the 2nd Heavy Cavalry Brigades, that will be you at roughly even Stevens points games. So yeah, the £90 boxes are looking like a decent investment for epic battles. The other thing I want to show off is I have been painting. I don't like doing a video without showing off some models, so I've painted up some cuirassiers. I do like my cuirassiers. I have a brigade of cuirassiers in 28mm and some Scots Greys. So I've really enjoyed painting these. Should be some painting videos step by step for these fellas up on YouTube right now. And one of the things I have discovered, which I was delighted with, is the sprues cut up into basically 3 parts. So I'm able to paint on the sprue without the whole sprue together. So, and you see I've snipped away the extra plastic. I've kept these bits on so I can hold it where I need to, and I'm able to batch paint these. So these are British Heavy Dragoons I'm in the process of painting. So anyway, I'm having a great time with Epic Battles Waterloo at the moment. I look forward to hearing what you guys have got doing. If you've got any thoughts, questions, you want to ask me anything, feel free to do so. I love talking about wargaming, as you know. And I look forward to chatting to you again. So that's goodbye for now. Goodbye.